everyone, you're watching The Big Fight and I'm Marya Shakil. One factor that has emerged from the election results in these three states of the Hindi heartland is that caste has not played a predictable role. The straight arithmetic, which is often done, may not yield desired results. But it is also true that caste remains the centerpiece of Indian politics and will be significant, like all elections, also in the run-up to 2024. But caste, in its traditional way, has been reimagined. As stage gets set for Mandal 2.0, we take a look at the aspiration versus representation debate. Remember, in Mandal 1, there was no caste census. This time, it is becoming a unifying issue of the opposition being led by the Congress. BJP's answer to the Mandal movement was its Kamandal mobilization and social engineering, with several leaders within the party, from the OBC in particular, being given a place of pride. Late Kalyan Singh, Uma Bharti, Vinay Katiyar, among others. But in Mandal 2.0, the Prime Minister has brought a new caste system. He says that he believes in only 4 categories: youth, women, farmers, and the poor. So the question is, what will resonate with the voters in 2024? Will it be a caste-based mobilization, or the Prime Minister's appeal to look beyond caste and look at class and gender? That is our debate on The Big Fight. Aspiration versus representation. What is the winning narrative for 2024? I'm going to begin straight with Professor Chandan Gowda. Your opening comments now.
What's the question, Marya?
What is the winning narrative? Caste versus the 4 caste reimagination that has been done by the Prime Minister, where he says it is women, youth, the poorest of the poor, and also the farmers.
Marya, I don't think it's this or the other, because even the 4 categories of women, youth, poor, and farmers can be better understood if you count caste, because all of them will have caste. It's not as if they're casteless categories. Marya, one very quick thing we may bear in mind, regardless of how this pans out as an election matter, the importance of doing a caste census independently must be understood, I think, outside of political calculations, because we haven't had one for the last 90 years or more, and we don't have a clear sense of who we are as a demographic portrait, and we are simply unable to know the mortality, the fertility, literacy, age, all these essential sorts of data by caste and community. And it's not just caste. Please remember, when we count caste, it's not just caste within the Hindu order. We are counting castes among Muslims as well as among Christians. So it's an overall sense of how the country is put together in a community profile.
Okay. Your opening
I think it's important for us to have that.
Okay. Your opening comments, Shruti Kapila.
Hi. I think this is a false distinction between aspiration and representation. Caste is a basic fact of Indian life, and it has become politicized and has been since actually more than 100 years. And it is in mobility. The subgroups or the subcastes are what are in mobility, which actually the BJP has been very agile in addressing that. It would be false to say that the BJP is not doing this. After all, the RSS started under the eras to woo the OBCs in, to not be an upper caste, as it were, Sangathan. And you're seeing that in a way that engineering continues. The problem really is that there is a new imagination that is required, and especially given that the government or the state remains the largest employer in India, so reservations and representation are going to become more and more significant, especially as India grows. So I think this is not... Yeah.
Okay,
so
Neerja Chaudhary, your opening comments as the stage gets ready for 2024?
I think it is, as you say, the 4 categories that the Prime Minister had pitted. I think it is caste versus anything versus Narendra Modi. In 1971 elections, and foreign journalists had asked Indira Gandhi what was the issue in that election. She said, I am the issue. In 1980, when she won with the largest ever majority, she was again asked that question, and she, in quotes, was the issue. And Narendra Modi has been an issue. Narendra Modi will be the central issue in the 2024 elections. Now, coming to caste has been a very important issue, just as community, mandir, religion has been a very important issue in a country like ours, where people are emotional, decide on emotional issues more than other issues. So I think the caste issue was flagged by the opposition, that they wanted a caste census, but it has not been fully spelled out by them. What does it mean to call for a caste census? Does it mean the empowerment of the OBCs? That was not fully spelled out. And the other question is that the Congress has never been associated with the OBC issue in North India. In the South, yes, it's won elections, but not in the North.
Okay, I'm coming back to you, but opening comments from Ashok Bharti now.
Right,
and then I bring in the politicians.
Thank you, Maria. That normally what happens that the argument is aspiration and caste. But people tend to forget that caste have their aspirations. They have aspiration of justice, they have aspiration of rights, they have aspirations of representation, they themselves have the aspirations. So therefore, this can't be really, there is not between this and that. In fact, all Dalits, Adivasi and OBCs and even Brahmins, they want their representation and they are aspiring to have the representation. Unfortunately, in Indian politics, the political space has been hegemonized by the Savarnas, and Muslims are very marginal force now. Dalits are represented because they have the representation, constitutional mandatory representation. Adivasi constitutional mandatory registration. But what about OBC? OBC are far lesser in representation than their population is in India.
Okay, so that is what Rahul Gandhi has been talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what the opposition is increasingly talking about.
And I believe that the 2024, because the narrative has just begun, so the narrative of the caste will further amplify.
Okay. What is amplifying according to you, Mr. Badoria?
Well, I have heard many panelists, and I also tend to agree that this dichotomy between caste and aspirational India, which we are trying to portray, I don't see it as a contradiction. I see that there is a class within the caste, and the aspirational India has overwhelmingly all those people who belong to the subjugated, exploited, marginalized sections, and they are the Dalits and the OBCs and even more particularly the women. The women at large, as Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar always observed, that the entire women force have been subjected to a lot of subjugation in this country. Now, coming back to this analysis of the elections, see, the elections will be a combination of a large number of variables, as I had stated earlier, and even in this election, unless there is a leadership, as I tend to agree with Nirja Chaudhary, that imaginative leadership who will be able to combine everything.
Leadership in the opposition bloc or the India bloc, yes.
So
Shama.
I agree with Ashokji what he said. One, of course, is they are two different things, the caste and aspirational part. And the other thing is in Telangana, BCs are 54%. And Congress party has won there. So caste has made a difference, the census we were talking about. The other very important point today is Modi ji in his speech said that for his party, there are 4 castes. That is women, youth, Kisan and the poor. Now, in his time, what has happened to women? We know what happened to women in Manipur. We know what Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh did to women. The Prime Minister did not stand with the women of India. He talks about youth, the highest unemployment rate, 10%. It is during his time. He was supposed to give 2 crore jobs. He did not. He talks about Kisan. What has happened to Kisan? During the 3 black farm laws, more than 700 Kisans died. Did the Pradhan Mantri go and speak to them? Did he say one word? No. He talks about the poor. The gas price is more than 1,000. The petrol price and diesel price is more than 100. During the Congress time, it was subsidized. What does he do for poor? He increases the GST, puts 5% GST on their dal, chawal, curd, yogurt. So there's nothing for the poor, nothing for the youth, nothing for the women, and nothing for the
Guru Prakash Paswan,
So
your
how can
opening
he say
comments.
that these are the castes?
Will it be responding to Shama or you'll be setting a different narrative?
No, I think the people of India have responded, Marya, on multiple occasions. And only a couple of days ago, we saw people of Madhya Pradesh. There is a difference of more than 100 seats. So I think the people of Madhya Pradesh obviously don't agree with the Congress party and the leadership. The difference of seats in Rajasthan, the difference of seats in Chhattisgarh. Look at the difference in the terms of vote share. So you have to understand, you have raised a very valid point. And only on 6th of December, 2 days ago, Marya, we were remembering Baba Saheb Ambedkar on his death anniversary, which is also called Mahaparinirvan Divas. And I'm reminded of Ambedkar with respect to this debate. He makes a very prophetic statement. He says on 26th of January 1950, India is going to enter into a life of contradictions. We will have equality in our politics, but we will have gross inequality in our social and economic life. And it continues till date. The fundamental problem is that the Congress party is structurally, institutionally, organizationally, historically anti-representation, anti-Dalit, anti-OBC, anti-Muslim. Mr. Rahul Gandhi goes to Madhya Pradesh, says caste census. Who is the CM candidate? Mr. Kamal Nath. Historically, Congress party had not shared a position of power and responsibility with marginalized section.
Okay, what about Bihar? Mr. K.C. Tyagi, since it is Nitish Kumar's idea of caste census, he is the one who released the caste survey also, and now that has become the talking point of the entire India bloc. Go ahead, your opening comments.
मायरा जी, 1931 में पहली बार जनगणना हुई थी. उस समय फ्यूडल सोसाइटी थी, कॉलोनियल रूल था, लोग अपनी जात छिपाते थे, समाज में ऊंची जात का होना सम्मान का था, पिछड़ी और छोटी जात का होना अपमान का था. हमारे उत्तर प्रदेश में कल्याण सिंह जी जो मुख्यमंत्री रहे वो लोध पिछड़ी जाति के हैं, लेकिन वो लिखते थे कि हम लोध राजपूत हैं. दे वर नॉट फ्रॉम द फॉरवर्ड कास्ट. बिहार बनारस के आसपास की जितनी भी कुर्मी कम्युनिटी है वो लिखती है कुर्मी क्षत्रिय. दे आर नॉट क्षत्रिय, दे आर बैकवर्ड. तो ये फिनोमिना तब से चला आ रहा है. 90 साल के बाद इस तंत्र को तोड़ने का काम हुआ है जब जातिगत जनगणना के आंकड़े सामने आए हैं. अमृत काल का पीरियड है. इन समूहों को जानने का अधिकार है कि इनके सोशो इकोनॉमिक एम्पावरमेंट कितने हुए. मैं एक और चीज कहना चाहता हूं कि समाज के जो लॉज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट है वो कितने काम करते हैं. जब मंडल कमीशन लगा था तो मैं एमपी था उस लोकसभा में. मुझको 100 लोग रोज एक्यूज करने, रेव्यूज करने आते थे कि आपने मंडल क्यों लगवाया. आज 30 साल के बाद, 32 साल के बाद विभिन्न राज्यों से लोग आते हैं, कहते हैं कि नीतीश जी का एक दिन का कार्यक्रम हमारे यहाँ दिलाइए. पिछड़ा वर्ग के लोग उनका सम्मान करना चाहते हैं. आज कोई लड़का जल के नहीं मरा, आज किसी ने नारे खिलाफ में नहीं लगाए.
My question is that if it is an issue which is not getting resonance, I think in the context of Bihar, it's the women who as a caste neutral constituency which are discussed even more than say the OBCs. My question then is that what worked in Bihar may not work in other states. So one size fits all is something that the results of which we have seen.
मारिया, जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टी ऐसे सोशो इकोनॉमिक चेंज के प्रोग्राम इंप्लीमेंट करती है उसके पास विल पावर भी होनी चाहिए और उसके पास कैडर भी होना चाहिए. ये कोई नीतीश कुमार ने आज अचानक कर दिया ऐसा नहीं है. इसकी जड़ समाजवादी आंदोलन है, डॉक्टर लोहिया से लेकर के कर्पूरी ठाकुर तक. याद करो, देश की राजनीति में पहला भूचाल आया था 1978 में, जब मुंगेरी लाल कमीशन की रिकमेंडेशंस वहां पर लागू हुई थी. आपके पिताश्री उस समय कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी के बड़े नेता हुआ करते थे और उसमें अति पिछड़ों के लिए 12%, पिछड़ों के लिए 8%. अब बड़ी महिला आरक्षण की बात हो रही है. कर्पूरी ठाकुर देश का पहला नेता था जिसने 3% का आरक्षण महिलाओं के लिए 1978 में किया था.
So is it like an old wine in the new bottle there? Guru Prakash Paswan? These are all old ideas which are being manufactured in a new way in your government. That's what the charge is.
No. If you allow me to respond to Mr. K.C. Tyagi ji, Mr. Nitish Kumar unfortunately has been misled. What he represents today is the face of neo-feudalism. On the floor of the House, Marya, you are demoralizing, insulting the Mahadalit Chief Minister. Are you justified in doing that? This is your words on the floor of the House. तुम deserve नहीं करते थे. हमने एहसान किया तुम्हें CM बना करके.
Marya.
This is the level of discourse. Is this the level of discourse we want? Mr. Nitish Kumar is the face of neo-feudalism.
No, while I would love to discuss Bihar politics, but I'm going to, let's look at the larger India picture, Guru.
No, I'm answering. No, this is the problem. This is the tendency. You look at RJD, Rashtriya Janata Dal, after Lalu Yadav, if it comes to sharing of power, Deputy CM, my son will become. Rajya Sabha, my daughter will go. Leader of House in the Legislative Council, my wife will become. Tej Pratap will become the Health Minister. Is this your idea of social justice? Is this your idea of caste census?
So Guru, I'm saying, let's look at the India picture, because this narrative or what the Prime Minister says, that there are new castes, 4 new castes of Adivasis, of women, of farmers and youth. If this is what he is speaking, and versus caste census, which is going to be the unifying idea, which will decide the narrative of 2024, is the big question. Chandan Gowda.
Marya, like I said earlier, those 4 new constituencies that the Prime Minister talked about will be meaningless if you don't have caste data, because all of these communities have castes. They're too abstract right now. Farmers don't exist as farmers. All of them have castes. So do women, so do youth, and even tribals can be broken down by religion, right? So we need a caste census, regardless of what you want to emphasize.
But Chandan, my question is that farmers are beneficiary class also. Women are beneficiary class as well. So why can't it be seen from that prism rather than being the overarching theme of caste?
The thing, Marya, is if you don't look at, when we do a census of the caste, you'll also get the economic data of all these castes. How have they done on literacy? How have they done on assets, etc., etc. Unless you have a sense of how each caste is made up. Please remember, one of the big contributions of the Bihar caste census is that it showed 25% of the upper caste Muslims are poor, 28% of the Bhumihars are poor, 25% of the Brahmins are poor. So you need to have a sense of how each caste is made up inside. And that's what the aspirational class or whatever you're talking about, you need to tap into. Old style reservation will not work if it doesn't take into account inner class dynamics within each caste, and that you will know only if you do a caste census, which will not just be a caste census, it will be a census of caste along with all other variables that the census usually takes into account. One more thing very quickly, Marya. A lot of money will be saved, a lot of effort will be saved if the caste is included in an extra column in the regular census that will happen sometime soon. Right? Please remember the demand for the caste census came in 2001, 2011, again 2021, COVID, no census, but when we have it, it's just one other column. And what we do with it is another matter, but we need data for sure. Okay. Better reservations will follow, better policies will follow.
Okay.
And even the private sector, which we want to do something about it, will also have some solid data to work with. Yes. Right now, it's just a vacant space.
Mohammed. So, Guru Prakash talked about CMs. Now, we have had now former Chhattisgarh CM, OBC. Former Rajasthan CM, OBC. Present Karnataka CM, OBC. So, we walk the talk, unlike you. You have to tell us how many you have. Then he spoke about Parivarvad. I want to ask him, why is Yedurappa's son the BJP president in Karnataka? They don't have answers to those Parivarvad. They continue. Then he says, wait, let me speak.
Guru, I'm coming to you. Let Shama finish the point. Yes.
Then when Danish Ali was called a terrorist by their BJP MP, why didn't the Prime Minister of India condemn it? I don't get it. Just because he's a Muslim, Muslims have no face in India. You're not supposed, the Prime Minister of India, being the Prime Minister, saw a member of Parliament calling another MP terrorist inside the Parliament, Atangwadi. The Prime Minister of India should have condemned. He doesn't do it. Now I'm going to give you some figures. They have said the Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Yojana has been extended to 80 crore people. We are 140 crore. So that's more than 50% people are poor in this country. We are in the global hunger index 111 out of 126. What does that show? That they are saying there is development happening, but we don't see that on the ground. Now I'm going to give you some dates. One is during UPA's time, the average GDP was 8.2%. Right now it's 5.7. You don't have answers. Unemployment rate during our time was 2.2%. Unemployment rate right now is 10%. Export growth during our time was 69%. Your export growth dipped to -9 in 2019, has gone up to 22%.
Okay.
So please do not tell us where development was happening.
These
Here
are
it's just all afwa, rumors, gas, everything, but real development we don't see on the ground.
Guru?
And what is the aspiration then for any youth out there?
Marya, I think this is precisely the problem of the Congress party. The level of grace and humility they have lost. They have seen there is a difference of more than 100 seats in Madhya Pradesh.
We have one in Telangana with where the OBCs are there. Caste census work there.
Maria, if you're in studio, can you shout? Does it give you a right to shout if you're in studio?
No, you come to the studio next time.
Okay, please, one moment. Guru, please go ahead. Go ahead.
This is the level of grace and dignity of a Congress spokesperson, and thank you so much for exposing that. Now, coming to the OBC share, Congress party since 1952 to 2023 has made more than 250 chief ministers, out of which only 40 chief ministers, madam, 210 chief ministers belong to upper caste. That is the reality. When for the first time an Adivasi ki beti reaches the highest constitutional office in the country, what did Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, leader of the Congress party in the Lok Sabha, said? Rashtrapatni. The level of discourse is this by the Congress party. What did Mr. Udit Raj say? What did your official
Why didn't you allow her inside the temple? Why didn't you allow her inside the temple? If you have so much respect, allow her inside the temple. So what's the point of symbolism? She should have gone to the sanctum sanctorium. You kept her out of the sanctum sanctorium.
You have talked about some statistics. You have talked about some statistics. Let him respond to those. He is responding to the statistics. Please,
I'm telling him what.
Let him respond to the statistics. Please go ahead.
This is not the work. You gave her uninterrupted time. I was silent when she was speaking.
Please go ahead.
The fact is that they cannot tolerate an Adivasi ki beti reaching the highest constitutional office in the country. व्याकुल हो जाते हैं ये लोग. गरीब का बेटा प्रधानमंत्री बनता है, कैसे बन गया? गांधी परिवार के लोग प्रधानमंत्री बनने का अधिकार रखते हैं. This is the reality of the feudal Congress party. The Congress party must understand and reconcile this. I think for the first time,
asked you questions on the Garib Kalyan and the overall data that she has on the jobs. Can you respond to those, please?
Marya, it was P. Chidambaram. It was P. Chidambaram in 2013. He said 44 crore people are below the poverty line. Now we have the IMF saying that there is less than 1% of poverty, extreme poverty.
Then why are you giving 80 crore people free food? What are you talking about? You can't just quote numbers. We have to see what's at the ground level. You can't say one IMF said, this one said.
There's no shouting and screaming on big fight. That is the important part here. Please go ahead.
They won't allow a Dalit to speak, Marya. This is the reality.
No, please, what? No,
I'm a Muslim. Okay. I'm a Muslim.
Okay, please, one moment. Please, there's no Dalit Muslim angle here, please. Both of you are representing your respective parties.
That is the reality. ये लोग पचा नहीं सकते इस बात को कि आदिवासी की
first Dalit president.
Okay, I'm going to move away from the politicians. I'll move away from the politicians completely. We are looking at this tutu meme, of course, on expected lines between the BJP and the Congress. But you know, it is going to be when the entire caste survey was released by the Bihar government. At that time, it was seen as a game changer idea. But then we have seen how it was, of course, adopted or appropriated by Congress party. But then there is a response that has come from the BJP. Yes, Prime Minister Modi will be the central figure in these elections. But when he talks about 4 classes or aspirational classes, do you think that will get more resonance than caste as an issue?
Look, first of all, I want to make the point, aspiration, Prime Minister Modi putting his finger on the pulse of an aspirational India is one of the factors that makes for the Modi phenomenon. Of course, there is Hindutva, there's nationalism, there's national pride, there is OBC empowerment, there is a strong leader with no family in tow, who works 24/7, tough leader, and so on. But there is also this factor, one, the subalternization of India, that an OBC like him, a chaiwala, can make it to the top position, which gives new heart to communities across the country, and also, one who puts his finger on the pulse that today 65% of India being 35, we are having an aspirational India who are looking ahead.
So if there is that aspirational age group which is looking for a new narrative, here is the new narrative which has come its way.
That he provides with other things. But one other thing I will say, he has the Modi phenomenon or the BJP, what the narrative it's putting out, has a mixture of a lot of things. It is not either caste versus community, which used to be the narrative in the past, Mandal versus Kamandal. Today is Mandal 2 versus a whole host of factors,
Yes.
which includes
So Mandal
OBC
2
empowerment, which includes Mandir, which includes Young India, which includes a tough leader. There is a mixture. It's a heady mixture that the BJP is putting out under Modi's
Yes, sir.
leadership.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
No, I think that I have been part of the civil society movement, and civil society has settled the issue of women, youth, farmer, poor, and they consider that these categories are intersectional categories. And if we are talking of the youth, we need to talk about the Dalit youth, Adivasi youth, OBC youth. If we are talking of the women, we need to talk every category of the women. For example, if we want to empower the women, the government has brought the legislation to empower the women through the parliamentary representation. Will it not be the aspiration of the women to become the member of parliament? In appropriate,
Yes, then why should it be looked at from the prism of caste within women?
I'm coming to that. Because the reason being that I believe this narrative is being advanced because there is a pressure of the representative community, the community that are seeking much justifiable representation in the parliament, in the Vidhan Sabha, in the jobs, in the market, in the economy.
So after emerging as a constituency, women are saying, give us representation. That exactly is the point. If there are these multiple caste constituencies, they are saying, let it be about aspiration now. Because in India, now the conversation is around aspirational districts rather than about certain pockets which are...
Aspirational district is a program. Is not the aspiration of the people. It's a government plan.
You are,
it's a Niti Aayog plan.
Guru, respond to this.
And just
aspirational
one question
district doesnn
just
mean
one question
that you are actually representing the aspiration. Yes.
One question to the Guru Prakash Paswan. Guru Prakash Paswan, you have a number of chief ministers. Tell me how many of them are the Dalits?
No, I will give you the data, sir. I will give you the data.
Now, give me that how many currently?
Yes, he is speaking. He is speaking. Yes.
He doesn't have it.
Yes.
He hasn't
No, I
studied
think
and come.
for a party,
Please,
that
let's not have these jibes unnecessarily. Go ahead.
No, Marya, it's completely normal for the Congress party because obviously they can't see a Dalit speaking. That is number one. Number two, you see out of 250 chief ministers, Congress party has appointed only 40 chief ministers.
He's asked about your party. Don't come to us.
Marya,
I will speak about that. He asked you about the Dalits in yours. Why don't you answer that? You're going whataboutery.
So should I move away from the politicians completely if you overspeak on when he's speaking? That's out-shouting. It doesn't work on Big Fight, please. Let one person speak. I'm going to come back to you. Yes, go ahead.
मरिया इनको बर्दाश्त नहीं होता है कोई दलित बोलता है तो कोई दलित बोल कैसे सकता है इनके सामने इनको बर्दाश्त नहीं हो सकता
चलिए गुरु बताइए ना जो सवाल पूछा उसका जवाब दीजिए
इन्होंने बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर का यही हश्र किया बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर को लोकसभा में नहीं आने दिया 1956 his death happens it took them more than 40 years 40 साल बाद आपने नेहरू जी ने भारत रत्न खुद को दे दिया इंदिरा गांधी ने भारत रत्न खुद को दे दिया लेकिन अम्बेडकर को आप नहीं दे पाए बाबू जगजीवन राम को आप नहीं दे पाए दिस इज द रियलिटी ऑफ द कांग्रेस पार्टी एंड व्हेन इट कम्स टू भारतीय जनता पार्टी बंगारू लक्ष्मण फर्स्ट दलित टू बिकम द नेशनल प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ बीजेपी फर्स्ट दलित टू बिकम अ लोकसभा अध्यक्ष इट वाज जीएमसी बालयोगी फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम अर्जुन राम मेघवाल इज द सेकंड दलित टू बिकम द यूनियन लॉ मिनिस्टर आफ्टर Baba Saheb Ambedkar. That is the truth. How many Dalit president Congress party are? Zero. The Congress party insulted Sitaram Kesri in the official premises. In the official
what is he talking
premises,
about? How many Dalit
party
presidents
insulted Sitaram Kesri. The Congress party Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi opposed the recommendation of Mandal Commission. The Congress party opposed the first backward classes commission. There can be no other political organization who can be anti-backward, anti-Dalit, anti-women than the Congress party. And the Congress party historically structurally
Guru, you have to respond to the point that has been made about aspirational district may not be really representing aspirations per se. This is more of a program.
No, but Marya, then you look at the tribal seats. The number of constituencies reserved for the tribal communities, more than 2/3 of the tribal seats has been won with the BJP. What does that represent? And also, for your information, the aspirational districts are poor districts. The aspirational district combines of the Dalit, OBC and the tribal population. And if we have more than 50 seats out of 75 seats of the aspirational areas voting for the BJP, it represents a fact that the poor, the Vanchit, Soshit, Pirit are standing
Shruti Kapila.
Make a point.
Just one thing, I think having a caste census should be uncontroversial. It is a very basic data, public data. And in fact, many parties have in their private, in their data analytics units, have that material available. After all, there was a caste census done in 2011, which was not made public. So that's just one aspect of it. It's a minor aspect. I don't see why that is the issue of controversy. The change that is taking place is actually how the OBC parties have moved and how Dalits have moved politically. For sure, the BJP has been successful in incorporating Dalits into its voter share, like the schedule. The fight is going to be at the largest, as it were, swing voter of the country, which is the OBCs, which is why this data is controversial, which is why this data is not being made public. Secondly, this is where the Congress faces a real strategic political vision issue, because it is now in direct competition with those OBC parties, which split away from it under VP Singh in the first Mandal movement. So in one yes, correct to focus on caste as the social issue, as the key social issue in India. But I think it lacks imagination to just focus on the census, because the story has moved. And now the competition is precisely that whether it is a JDU, whether it is the SP, these parties are saturated, and they are going, and is the Congress actually going to make a reverse move and start incorporating what it lost out in the 90s to these parties? Okay. So I think that I see the situation politically. I do not see, I think all of this is false.
But the point is that what may have happened... Yes.
It's false to actually say that developmentalism is, or aspiration is opposed to caste.
Yes.
Caste is
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that very, very much interlinked, but in the battle of narrative, this is the way it is playing out. So here is a party which is saying that, yes, I have OBC representation. Yes, I have ensured that there is a proper representation of Dalits and the Adivasis in the government structure. But going ahead, this is the way India should be talking about. So that's what I want to understand from you, all of you, in the next few minutes we have for wrapping up this discussion. And I'm going to begin with you, Shama. The point here is that after so many years of independence, shouldn't India be looking at reimagining its narrative? And this is what that opportunity is, that cusp or moment where we can look at various old ideas of caste and look at them perhaps in a different way.
So when the Prime Minister of India wanted the OBC card, wants to play, he would say, I am the OBC Chief Minister. Let's not forget it. Now when we ask for a caste census, he does not want to bring it out. He changes the goalpost. That's the Prime Minister of India. Now if you look at Guru Prakash, he has not answered one of my questions, whether it's Garib Kalyan Yojana, whether it's the numbers I've given, nothing. He just keeps repeating the same thing. The Congress did this, and he was talking about Dalits when we're talking about OBCs here. Let's understand that. And if you look at the Dalits, in 97, the first president of India, Narayana, is from, the Congress made him the first Dalit president. Jagjeevan Ram's daughter, the first speaker, Meera Kumar, a woman speaker, who gave it? The Congress party. So let's not get into that. We know what we are, and we have had Dalit presidents unlike you. But you have not spoken a single word on the OBCs. When she's asked you who is your OBC Chief Minister, you don't have any statistics. And what I want to say is the Prime Minister of India says youth, the Prime Minister of India says women, but what has he done for any one of them? He has insulted the farmers of India. He has snubbed the farmers of India.
None of you will be screaming on the show. None of you will be screaming on the show. I'm moving away from the politicians again. No, there's no need to scream. There is no need to scream. Please go ahead, Mr. Surendra Badaria. Please. No, ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am. Please go ahead. Mr. Badaria.
He won't be allowed to talk because
please go ahead, Mr. Badaria.
When he's been,
please go ahead. You were screaming, ma'am.
No, I'm not screaming because he's not allowing me to talk.
Yes, please.
That doesn't work.
Yes.
You see, the narrative in the coming elections will be that somebody who can combine the aspirations, the caste inequalities, the gender discrimination, at the same time he will be able to address the question of unemployment and other economic issues which are facing the country. Now, in that also, people would like to know what is the strategy, how they are going to come together, and how they... For instance, in 1971, when the elections took place, Mrs. Gandhi said, मैं कहती हूँ गरीबी हटाओ, ये कहते हैं इंदिरा हटाओ. So she caught the imagination that she will be able to abolish the poverty. But what happened to the poverty? The numbers of unemployed, the numbers of those people who are hungry, the numbers of illiteracy has grown. So nevertheless, ultimately
But my question is, can caste be that unifying force?
So caste alone will not be the unifying force.
Caste alone will not be a unifying force. So Mr. K.C. Tyagi, if caste census is not the unifying force of the India bloc, then what is?
मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा, दोबारा फिर कहना चाहता हूं कि ये 1990 नहीं है। जब मंडल लगा था तो कमंडल लेके चल दिया। आज कोई किसी की हिम्मत है जो नीतीश कुमार ने किया बिहार में उसके खिलाफ बोल दे? कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है? और दूसरा ये, मैं सुदीन भदौरिया से 100% एग्री करता हूं और आपसे भी कहना चाहता हूं, हमने एक मौका इन चुनाव में खो दिया। मेरे कांग्रेस के मित्र बुरा ना माने, सीट भी ना देते, कम से कम कैंपेन के लिए तो बुलाते। मैं हिमाचल प्रदेश के चुनाव में नीतीश कुमार जी से पूछ करके गया था कि क्या मैं वहां कांग्रेस पार्टी के लिए समर्थन मांग सकता हूं। उन्होंने भेज दिया। मैं बगैर बुलाया गया था, क्योंकि मैं चाहता हूं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी हारे। वो मौका, ऐतिहासिक मौका, कांग्रेस पार्टी ने अपने किन्हीं कारणों से गंवाया है। अब हमारी मीटिंग होगी। ये सारे सवाल जो आपने एस्पिरेशंस के उठाए हैं,
if this is what the sentiment is much before the bloc takes shape, then Congress has much to worry.
No, there has been certain issues because we left it to the state leaders. And of course, we will now speak on these, whatever they have, whatever they want to speak to us. We are one. We have decided that we are going to fight as one. And there will definitely be, Marya, you have to understand, there are many parties coming together, different parties coming together. There will be a lot of teething issues. We have understood those issues and we are now firmly going to work on it.
Fine.
त्यागी जी, जरूर हम काम करेंगे उसके ऊपर. जो आपकी बात हमने सुना है.
Go ahead, sir.
No, I think as far as 2024 is concerned, that the caste and representation are not antagonistic.
Yes, they are not contradictory.
Yeah, they are not contradictory. So therefore, I believe that the narrative for political party, winning narrative for the political party is primarily will depend on their imagination to present before the people of the country. And I believe both camps are, sharpening their swords and...
No, but if we were to look at women per se, women as a caste neutral constituency have emerged...
Women is not a caste neutral.
And they have emerged in multiple states. Ask Mr.
Marya,
K.C.
I'll tell you.
He will talk about it in my state of Bihar. That has happened in multiple states, sir.
Marya, I'll tell you, in the feminist movement, there is a strong resistance to the upper caste feminist movement. So there are caste fights in the feminist movement. Therefore the women's are not unifying force. So that the fundamental argument of the OBC and Dalits and Adivasi has been the women are not caste neutral category.
No, but what we have seen is reimagination of politics. That's what I'm saying. If women,
well, how do you know if you do not have data?
I have traveled to several states where you realize that women are talking about the benefits. They're talking about welfareism. So let's look at different elections from different lexicon. This is what I'm suggesting. And this is what I'm asking on the show. If it's aspiration versus representation, on one hand, it's talk about aspiration. On the other hand is representation. Let the people of India decide which is the best narrative. But going ahead, Professor Chandan Gowda, my question is, yes, we need to know how many, we need to know the count in each block. But then, India of 2024, how do we discount that there is a need for not sticking to issues or arithmetics that we have been doing in the past? That calculation that is based on such ideas should be done away with.
Yes, thank you, Marya. I think what you said is important. I mean, if you Nitish Kumar's immediate response after the census came out in Bihar was to say, well, I'll increase the reservation to 65%.
Yes.
For me, that is not the way to think about it, because the data will allow you to talk about social justice in a more sophisticated manner, not the old-fashioned manner. And that's what I would like to see them do. If you have new data, how do you talk about social justice now in a different fashion, right? Because there are tensions within each community, right? Please remember, even the Dalits in Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh have asked for internal reservation. That must be a clear sign that you can't go along with old categories anymore. Now, having said that, you said what can be the India Front's platform? I think it's too early to say. They have not met yet. But I would imagine the federal autonomy is something that they will all want to protect. And the integrity of all the central government institutions etc., and the way they interfere with states functioning, etc., will also be key, I would imagine. And definitely linguistic justice and all kinds of other social justice things will emerge in the common minimum program they'll come up with.
You know,
I'm
the
curious
point
to
that
see
you
what
made, that if there are new categories being looked at, Guru Prakash Paswan, as the Prime Minister suggesting, then why should there be opposition to caste census? It will only help to, you know, make these categories function better.
Yes.
No, Maria, I think there has never been an opposition to caste census. Let me make this very clear. The Honorable Union Minister of Home Affairs have on record said that whenever the time comes, the caste census will be committed. But the simple point is this, that you cannot use caste census as a rhetoric. And that is what is being used as of now. Mr. Lalu Yadav, Mr. Stalin, you look at from north to south, all the regional political parties, the family-based enterprises. After all, what is the objective behind caste census? The share in power. Representation must be shared, but that is not happening. It is the Bharatiya Janata Party. I gave you the example of Bangaru Lakshman, who made a Dalit as the first national president of a national political party. And obviously, it was not...
Okay, he is disagreeing. He is disagreeing.
Guru Prakash Paswan, D. Sanjeevaya Reddy was Congress president. And let me tell you, when the Congress I was formed, Babu Jagjivan Rao was the founding president of the Congress at that time, when Mrs. Gandhi formed. So don't, facts, you can't blame the facts.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there are placeholders and there are full-timers. D. Sanjeevaya was a placeholder president for you, sir. D. Sanjeevaya to Charanjit Singh Channi. Charanjit Singh Channi was a placeholder chief minister of Punjab.
You cannot say placeholder, then what is the president of India? It's symbolic. Yeah, you're also a placeholder. Sorry, you can't just, it's your issue, then it's not a placeholder. What is Yadurappa's son? It's not dynastic politics in Karnataka. Why was he given? There are many others who could have become the president. Why was not it given to somebody else from the backward class or anything? Why did you give it back to Yadurappa's son? Why did you give it back to a Lingayat? Why? That's called dynastic politics. I am sorry. You don't have an answer. Prime Minister Modi cannot speak about Parivar
Let me go back to the question that I asked Guru, because, you know, that is where the entire debate is emanating from. If you have caste census, it will ensure that all these 4 categories that the Prime Minister is talking about, there'll be better distribution.
Absolutely.
And better representation.
Absolutely.
Maria, you can have 100 other people against me as well, but the people of India are standing with me and my party. That is the truth and the reality. And as far as caste census is concerned, it cannot be the sole criteria. It cannot be the sole criteria. What is the representation that you have shared? We have different political party representative here. Who is the OBC? The Congress party sent any OBC to television? No. The Congress party sent any Dalit to television?
Okay.
Absolutely
not.
not.
Okay, Guru, that is not what I'm going to give the final word to 2 women on the panel, but before that, KC Tyagi, go ahead, sir.
कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली पूना पैक्ट में और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो व्याख्या की है क्लासेस की, वो है सोशली एंड एजुकेशनली बैकवर्ड क्लास. अब ये 4 क्लास जो प्रधानमंत्री ने डिस्क्राइब की हैं, तो ये पिछड़े वर्ग की, दलितों की जो एमर्जिंग पावर है, उससे ध्यान हटाने के लिए, क्या दलित का जो बच्चा है, दलित की जो महिला है, दलित का जो किसान है, उसका स्टेटस सोशली और एजुकेशनली वैसा ही है क्या जैसा अपर कास्ट का है? और 2 क्लासेस हैं. 2 क्लासेस कैसे हैं? हिंदुस्तान के अंदर तो 4 क्लासेस हैं. हमारे यहाँ तो स्वर्ण अलग हैं, स्वर्णों में भी 2 हिस्से हैं, दलित हैं, बैकवर्ड हैं. ये सारी एक्सरसाइज बिहार के जातिगत जनगणना से डर करके डाइवर्जन के लिए की जा रही है. कभी कहते हैं कि मेरी जाति गरीब है, तो गरीब के अंदर जो है, फिर ये जो बाबा साहब का संविधान था जिसमें सोशली एजुकेशनली बैकवर्ड लोगों को आरक्षण मिला है, तो वो क्या गलत था? सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, राम जेठमलानी हमारे वकील थे, उन्होंने मंडल के तहत सुप्रीम कोर्ट की पूरी बेंच ने कहा कि सोशली और एजुकेशनली जो बैकवर्ड है. अभी तीसरी क्लास कहां से आ गई? इज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ द बीजेपी द मार्क्सिस्ट पार्टी दैट दे आर 2 classes in the country, that there are 2 classes in the world?
Shama, 30 seconds.
One the working class, other the bourgeois.
The Prime Minister of India does things according to his convenience. Our question today, and Rahul ji has clearly said that out of the 90 secretaries, only 2 are OBC. We don't know what is the representation of OBCs unless we know what is the percentage of the OBC in the country. That's when we can find out the representation, isn't it? So I want to know, ask Guru Prakash, why is the Prime Minister of India against a caste census? Tell us the truth. Just like you want symbolism, you have an Adivasi president, but you don't allow her into the sanctum sanctorum of the temple. She should stand outside the glass and watch what is happening inside the temple.
Just enough
You
time
are anti-Dalit, anti-Adivasi, anti-women and anti-Kisan. That is what the Bharatiya Janata Party is.
Neerja Chaudhary, please.
I want to say very simply, sum it up by saying a very senior leader of the BJP had told me just before the Uttar Pradesh elections, when I talked about the Jats leaving the side of the BJP, he said, we are not worried about the Jats, they will come back to us. What we are worried about is retaining the support of the OBCs. And that the OBC factor is going to be a very decisive factor in 2024. There'll be many issues, but this factor will be. And the fight for the OBCs is what we are seeing today. The fact that the Congress party has not been able to effectively use this card. They have flagged it, caste census, but they have not been able to make it an issue of OBC empowerment. And I think that's, even though they had 2 CMs out of these 3 who lost, well, not CMs who lost, but the leaders of the Congress party who headed the campaign in Chhattisgarh, Baghel, Kurmi, Gehlot, Amali, both OBCs, and then, of course, Kamal Nath. Kamal Nath of a state where there's a large section of OBCs, and yet they could not play this card effectively. I think that is where they need to go back to the drawing table. Or the drawing board.
That's what the good side of the...
54%
Yes, so that's what she's...
So we played the card in Telangana and we won.
Okay. Okay, let's see how it actually plays out in the run-up to 2024. Sudhindra Badoria, Ashok Bharti, Shama Mohammed, Neerja Chaudhary, Shruti Kapila, Professor Chandan Gowda, K.C. Tyagi and Guru Prakash Paswan. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'll be back with another